Hey, Kara Oosterhuis here with RealAgriculture.com. I am here today at Farming Smarter's Field Day in Lethbridge, Alberta, and I have here with me Mike Gretzinger of Farming Smarter. How's it going today?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
That's good.
Awesome.
Okay, so we are standing near a plot which I think is pretty darn cool, because you don't think of this when you think of Southern Alberta, but we're actually in a rice plot. Well, why?
That's a good question. Well, we were kind of approached last year by Michele Konschuh of the University of Lethbridge and a team. She was kind of working with Galaxy Ag Ventures out of Calgary. They wanted to grow some rice trials. Basically, none of us had much experience. We kind of had the field expertise and equipment and things to make that happen, and so we just kind of partnered together on the project to try a few new things out, some different seeding methods and some cultivars and irrigation type things to see what happens. And then this is year 2 behind us now. So
after the first year, is there viability to growing rice here?
Well, there's definitely the potential. I think there's a lot of things that we're still trying to work out, and you know, the honest answer is it's going to be a while before I think you see anything on a store shelf. But I think the research ideas are in the right place, and kind of the plans are, for moving forward are probably conservatively optimistic or whatever, if that kind of makes sense. Yeah.
So when I think rice, I think of often like flood irrigation type. Is that what you guys have been trialing, is with flood irrigation or with? No,
for sure. So most people, they think of rice and they think like paddy rice. And so lots of parts of the world, they just have the infrastructure, they have the climate, they have the conditions to flood everything. And that's really done for weed control, and rice will tolerate that kind of flooding. And it doesn't like being in too dry of soil for too long. But there is upland varieties and upland strategies for growing rice. They use it throughout the United States. BC and Ontario has tried some different research projects and had some intermittent success and some different trials that way. And so that's what we're doing here. Yeah, it's called upland rice.
Okay,
yeah.
And it's for the food market eventually is what you'd be targeting?
Yeah, I think the idea is to take the grains, fraction them, use them in processed kind of flours and things like that. So you can replace kind of gluten options for rice flour and other things like that. Yeah,
absolutely. And looking at like IPM, you talked about weed control, things like that. How competitive is rice?
It's hard to say. Right now, that can be a bit of a challenge. So we're looking at some different seeding dates. One of the strategies of IPM that I like for novel cropping is kind of delayed seeding, or really timing your seeding with a good burn down and weed suppression. And so we've noticed that our lated seeded stuff back there, despite having maybe a little bit disadvantage in the growing season by being planted later, we're able to get some irrigation on. A lot of the weeds pop through. We're able to eliminate those weeds before planting, and now they're less of an issue. And now that the rice is established, the ones that are going to come up will be fighting off a little better, the small weeds versus the big weeds in the plots that we planted earlier. Yeah.
So you mentioned it doesn't necessarily need that flooding because that's more for weed control. Does it need quite a bit of water though? Does the pivot have to go around and around and around?
For sure. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why I think we're targeting the Southern Alberta region. We're definitely not looking there. I think they're not definitely looking at just the general plains in general, but the irrigated acres. So anywhere we can grow potatoes, sugar beets, corn, other high value commodity crops that are going to use 15 to maybe even 20 plus inches of water a year and kind of max out their water rights and usage. That's somewhere where there's probably the potential fit to grow something like rice. And you can see, we had an inch of water over the weekend. We had some rain last night, and even the top of the soil here is almost starting to get a little bit crusty and stuff already. As soon as I dig up maybe a centimeter, an inch, you see there's really good moisture there. But so keeping it wet, I think, is as soon as our presentation's done here, we'll probably be turning the pivot back on over the weekend, depending on the forecast. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And how long is this particular trial?
This is just a 1 year. Well, it's second year of 2, but just a 1 year trial. They're doing some work up in the Brook CDC location as well. And just kind of play it as we go and trying to find that win. We really want to see the panicles kind of form where the grain is produced and hopefully get something to yield this year. I'm not sure if it's going to be an early or late date or if any of the different seed treatments we put on will have any effect. We did find last year we did some different planting methods, and so we transplanted some. We started the greenhouse, kind of hardened it off, brought it out, and physically transplanted it into the plots. And because it was a little further along, we did see it kind of had maybe more potential, but in a field setting, the odds of that happening in Southern Alberta may be a little lower. So we just have a direct seeded here behind us right now. Yeah.
Any surprises I know it's still super early, but any surprises you found?
Well, fortunately, I think a non-surprise, it's maybe surprising that we haven't had any issues, but we haven't had any major insects or pests or diseases or things like that. So the challenge of growing a new crop is that you kind of don't know those things like offhand. They're not second nature like they are in a staple crop that you've grown for 10 years. So we haven't been caught off guard by anything like that. I'd say that's a surprise. I've been expecting to be like, come back over the weekend and be like, what's this weird new bug feeding on here? What's this weird marks or whatever? But that hasn't happened.